Welcome back to the Coming of Cage podcast, your Nicolas Cage movie review podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Derek, and your other host, Ryan, is right over there.
Yes, I am. And we are doing our 76th episode of this podcast.
Yes. Which
For
means
what?
it's our
Our 75th
75th
movie.
movie. Yeah, it's a
Yes.
milestone, man.
And we picked a big one.
Oh, the
This is
wheel picked
one
it. We got lucky.
the wheel picked a big one. I mean, this is
Yeah.
one that Con Air and Face Off and The Rock are like the three that we always, at least I always get every time I bring up that I do this podcast. Those are the three that are like, oh, have you reviewed any of these yet? But Willy's Wonderland is one that kind of gained a lot of popularity when it went on Hulu. I think towards the end of COVID, maybe after the lockdowns. When it came out, it was really popular on streaming.
Yeah, well, it's a 2021 film, so it did come out like right in the height of it all. I guess they were lucky to get that filmed in time.
Well,
But
they finished filming. I read an interview with the director and writer, and they said they finished filming literally like the month before lockdowns.
wow, that's crazy.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
but this movie is one that a lot of people have seen. It's a smaller budget. A lot of people haven't seen the smaller budget Nick Cage movies of this era. But this one, because of a video game, not based on this movie is not based on the video game, but certainly inspired by. I think that really amplified its popularity.
are you talking about Five Nights at Freddy's?
Yes, Five Nights at
Yeah.
Freddy's, and they actually came out with a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and a lot of people say that this movie is significantly better than the actual Five Nights at Freddy's movie. So
I believe that. I haven't seen it. I've never played a Five Nights at Freddy's game, like, so I have no like stake in that franchise or anything like that. But I this was
I have
an
a hard time
experience.
seeing that, yeah, that one of those movies is better than this one.
Yeah. So
Um,
yeah, so Willy's Wonderland, what is it about for people who don't know? It's quote a quiet drifter is tricked into a janitorial job at the now condemned Willy's Wonderland. The mundane tasks suddenly become an all-out fight for survival against wave after wave of demonic animatronics. Fists fly, kicks land, titans clash, and only one side will make it out alive.
yeah, that's accurate.
That's a fun synopsis. Whoever wrote that, thank you.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, a lot of I think
Yeah, and
motivation on that one.
descriptive.
It's pretty good. I don't know about wave after wave. There's 8 animatronics
Right.
in total that
And he doesn't
mostly
even kill
fight
them
one
all.
on one.
Yeah.
But
This is the director's first like real movie credit, I think. Or only one that you would definitely know about. He's got some other credits, but I think they're mostly episodes of TV shows or shorts.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
he had directed some stuff. Not again, nothing I don't think most people would be aware of. This is his highest rating directorial project.
yeah. And it's actually surprisingly not rated that well on IMDb. It's a 5.5 out of 10, which
Mhm.
we've watched a lot of 5.5 out of 10 movies of Nicolas Cage's. And I'm not spoiling anything in terms of our rating system, but I would much rather watch this movie over almost every other 5.5 rated movie on IMDb that we've watched.
Yeah, I think you have to go into I think you have to look at this movie understanding what it's trying to be and not maybe what a person wants it to be.
Yes. I think we'll get
Right.
into that a bit when
Yeah.
we start reviewing or start actually talking about what's going on in the movie. But yeah, it's definitely tonally one thing, and people probably thought it was going to be something else,
Hmm.
maybe because of trailer misdirection or something like that. But yeah, I mean, reading a lot of the reviews online, people were definitely thinking it was going to be one thing and got something else. So,
Interesting.
but we'll dig into that. As it usually is with these movies, I take notes throughout the movie of notable things that happen that we should discuss. And this one had a lot of notes because there's so much fun stuff to talk about in this movie. Um, yeah, yeah. So I guess we can just dig into it, unless there's something else you want to say ahead of time.
No, let's do it. Let's dive in.
So we get 5 title screens right out of the gate. Different production companies involved in this.
Mhm.
So that's always fun. We always count those because on his indie films, I think 5 is about the most we've seen.
I'm pretty sure we've seen seven. I remember that we talked about seven one time, but that
Yeah,
was a
maybe on
pretty
one of like the
niche.
80s or early 90s ones, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe I don't know, but I mean,
Yeah.
Saturn Films was involved. He actually really insisted upon producing this one because he was apparently very protective of the script.
Yes, and he actually had to fight for this movie to even get made because people didn't understand why you would cast Nick Cage in a movie and have him say 0 words.
Okay. I mean, this is at a part of his career where he's trying to do things he's never done before. And let's face it, very few actors have ever done something like this.
Yeah, this is not a movie where, like, there was that period where he was having financial troubles and was taking a ton of jobs. Um, this, and not to discount anything he did during that time, but
No, there's good stuff in there.
definitely nowadays and in the past, 5, 6, 7 years, he's been able to be a little more picky and pick things that seem more fun to him, and this definitely fell into that realm.
100%.
So we start off with a creepy commercial for Willy's Wonderland, um, where we get to kind of see 2 people. We don't know who they are, being what looks to be murdered or attacked,
hmm
wearing Willy's Wonderland shirts. Um, yeah. At one point, one just gets dragged away, and you can't see what's dragging him. Very kind of
Yeah.
like what's that paranormal something or whatever that movie is where it's in like
Oh,
all the CCTV camera type things, and you can see people getting like thrown and stuff, but you can't see what's throwing them.
yeah. Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, that very
Yeah.
very kind of reminiscent of that.
But it's weird because like these people are wearing branded shirts, so it's like, are they employees?
Right. What are they?
You know?
Um, and then we get the first of 2 commercials in this movie. Do you remember what the commercials were for, Derek? There's 2. They're for the same thing.
The birthday parties at Willy's Wonderland. Is
No,
that?
the Chevrolet Camaro
Oh,
SS.
the product placement.
Yes, sorry. I
Sorry.
mean, I have it in my notes literally as Camaro commercial
Gotcha.
because
Yes.
the drifter or janitor, whatever you'd like to call him, Nicolas Cage, he does everything you would see in a like car commercial for a sports car. Uh, with this Chevy Camaro, and they get like close-ups of the gauge cluster and like close-ups of the radio and like the car's burning out and drifting and like everything. It's probably 3 or 4 minutes. That's probably how they could afford to make this movie, was to feature the Camaro.
Well, because I
Um,
think this was when the generation changed for the car, and
yes, it was
Chevy
it
was
was
trying to.
early.
Yeah, it
Well,
was a
no,
nice
the
color.
generation started earlier because even like the Bumblebee Camaro that they came out with was the same body style as this one.
It's pretty different.
Maybe it's like a newer revised. I don't know. I'm not a big Camaro guy, so I don't know. I'm sure they changed some stuff by then, but
This one
but
doesn't
yeah,
have as like hard of edges. Anyway,
even like when later there's a scene with like a mechanic and he's like, "Oh, it's the Bayside Blue or whatever." Like he knows the exact paint code name for this particular Camaro that's probably only been out for less than a year.
even though they
And
don't
he's
have
in this
internet.
podunk town with no internet. Yeah, it's amazing that he would even know what kind of car this is. Um, but yeah, he spins out because he has flat tires. His tires go flat, and he looks back and realizes that he hit a spike strip in the middle of the road, like a police spike strip. And we get a first of many super dramatic Nicolas Cage shots where he's like putting on sunglasses, taking off sunglasses, or just staring at something while wearing sunglasses.
Surveying his surroundings while wearing
Right. And
sunglasses.
it's a lot of just like staring at one thing with sunglasses. And yes.
Yeah.
And this is where we start. I think at this point is where people should start to realize that this is not what you maybe thought it was going in. This is not a serious movie by any means. This movie was not made by people that are like, we need people to take this very seriously and they're going to be terrified watching this.
hmm
This is a movie made for people or made by people that were fans of Evil Dead, probably,
I would
or
imagine.
Evil Dead 2, B movies, Toxic Avenger,
Yes.
those type of movies, gore
Uh-huh.
fests. B movies, B effects, and things like that, that wanted to have a movie that could some people would potentially find scary, but also has a lot of humor in the way that it's filmed, and the way things are done with it. And I
Hmm.
think that's what made a lot of these. We probably will see that in some of these negative reviews when we get to that point, is that people thought it should be more serious, and they don't really understand why he's dancing in front of a pinball machine. You know what I mean? Like, there's things that happen, or like, why did he just kill this animatronic ostrich and now he's cleaning a stove? You know,
It's wild, man. I'll tell
it
you.
is, but it's that way because you're supposed to laugh at how ridiculous that is, right?
Right.
It's all
It's
by
absurd.
design.
It's all
Yeah.
absurd. Yeah. Love
Yes.
it.
Um, so we see a teenage girl attempting arson on this Willy's Wonderland building. She's up there with a gas can, uh, and she gets caught by the police,
Yeah,
the
the sheriff.
sheriff, who grabs her, and apparently we don't know at this point what the relationship is, but the sheriff takes her to a trailer and handcuffs her to a radiator pipe, basically.
Yeah, I mean, at first it's like, is this her daughter or granddaughter or something like that? Is what we're supposed to assume, I think.
Right. But
But
even then, why are you handcuffing your daughter, granddaughters to a radiator pipe? That seems like an abuse of power.
oh yeah, no, it's awful. I think we're supposed to believe this is some like troubled child who's like just trying to like, break the law and do all these things, and the sheriff's at her wit's end trying to keep her daughter, granddaughter, in check kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
Not the case, but I think that's what we're supposed to think.
sure. A tow truck driver shows up to pick up his wonderful Camaro.
Nothing
Um,
suspicious about that.
no, he shows up and picks up his Camaro and gives him a ride back to the shop. And the whole time, and that's one of the things people know about this movie, is that Nick Cage doesn't speak at all in the movie. Um,
Zero.
the tow truck driver is constantly talking to him, and he's not responding. But the thing that distracted me through this whole scene is that the guy has what you think at first is a cigar in his mouth, right? Because that's a normal thing that somebody would have in their mouth, maybe a tow truck driver. No, it's not a cigar.
It's
It's a
not?
meat stick.
Oh.
It's like a Slim Jim or something like that.
Oh, I thought it
Because
was
that
just a prop cigar.
no, the first time I saw it, I was like, is that a cigar? And then there's one shot where it's like close up on it, and you could tell it's like a Slim Jim or a meat stick or something. And that makes it even grosser because he has
Yeah.
this assumably not the same one, but it's the same length and same everything throughout this entire movie. He always has it hanging out of his mouth.
That's his
But
emotional
there's a
support Slim
scene
Jim.
later where he's with somebody who's actually smoking a cigar,
Yeah.
and he still has this meat stick in his mouth. So it's very weird, but yes, it is a meat stick. We have confirmed it was a meat stick. If somebody was worried about that, I don't know why this guy chews on a meat stick the
That's
whole time, but
gross. Yeah.
it's very gross. Um,
But yeah, all we get from Nick is like just very specific looks,
right.
right? He doesn't no grunting or sighing or anything,
Not at this
nothing.
point.
Well, no, but just looks, long drawn out looks.
Correct. And so they take the car back to the shop, and we get a scene of the mechanic who has the hood popped on the Camaro, I want to say, despite the fact that the car came in with four flat tires and nothing wrong with the engine. And he tells the guy that he's going to need four new tires, obviously, and that he needs a new chip, which
Yeah.
is going to cost him $1,000. So, that's not a thing. But obviously it seems like you kind of, if you're, especially if you're a car guy at this point, you kind of get the suspicion that something, either they didn't have any kind of like a car person on the staff that could tell them, hey guys, you can't just, like, there's no chip that goes wrong on cars for $1,000, especially not that they would have in stock in a podunk town for a brand new Camaro. um but yeah, at this point, is where I would start getting suspicious. Okay, this guy's like just trying to tack on money. So it's either a scummy repair shop, which seems likely, or something else is going on. But at this point, it just seems like he's maybe a scummy repair shop that's just trying to get him for more money. And then Nick's character goes to pay, and he pulls out like a credit card, and the guy says, "No, no, 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 it's cash only." Well, and then there's an ATM that they show over to the side in the shop, mind you, not in like a waiting area. It's in the actual shop.
Do you think
And
he has a waiting area,
it's
Ryan?
covered in like oil and or I hope it's oil.
Oh
Whatever it's
God.
covered in, there's liquids all over it. Could be juice from the meat stick that he spits out onto it or
Oh
something.
Jesus Christ.
I
Don't
I
ruin
had to
this for
say
me.
that. I had to say that just because I knew what your face would look like when I did that, and I was not disappointed. That's for you. That's a gift for you people that watch this on YouTube. But
I hope you enjoyed all the mouth noises that Nick makes every time he drinks one of those sodas.
oh, we'll get to that. Don't worry. But yeah, so the ATM has a big sign this is out of order or something, and so he can't get cash. And so right away, the guy's like, "Oh, it's no problem. Are you willing to work for the money?" Which is always a bad sign. If you're in a podunk town with no internet and somebody asks you if you're willing to work to pay something off, run because you're about to get, you know, something trafficked probably or something like that.
Nothing good.
Huh?
Nothing good.
Nothing
Nothing
good.
good.
Yeah, there's literally nothing that could come from this that would be positive. But yeah, Nick is immediately like, sure. Well, he does like a slow nod.
Well, because the whole time, he's so cooperative throughout this entire movie. He's so cooperative, right? $1,000? Sure. Here's my credit card. Oh, you need me to work it off instead? Fine. Point me in the right direction. Like he's just like going with the flow.
Right. So they take him to Willy's Wonderland, and the guy that owns Willy's Wonderland is giving him the whole spiel about
Tex McAdoo, man.
what happened to the store. There's a lot of ominous spray paint all over the building that apparently the janitor doesn't really care about, isn't really worried about. Um, this is something that confused me.
Okay.
This place has power, right? We see
Yes.
the TV's turning on. When he goes to the closet, he turns the lights on.
Sure.
But the whole time that Nick is here, they have no lights on really.
I mean, he turns them on at times. He turns lights on in
There's a lot of
various
times when
times.
there's like something creeping around corners and nobody thinks they should turn on lights.
Um,
It
I
does.
don't
I will
know.
say in the intro scene when the guy and the woman are getting chased, there is a scene where they show that like a couple of lights had their light bulbs smashed.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's the case, but like there's different rooms that are lit up, right? You know, the one where we're first introduced to the chameleon, like there's lights on. It's not like a bright room, but I think it's supposed to be like stylized in these kind of neon type ways. The kitchen is
Well,
perfectly
it's
lit
clearly
up.
supposed to be stylized. I'm thinking in universe, it's probably not supposed to be stylized. It's
I mean
probably
that
just supposed to be
I think that room was supposed to be like a space room,
okay.
right? Because it had all these kind of like
But there's
neon
no
lights and stuff.
emergency lighting that they could turn on, you know?
I mean, there might be. He doesn't seem to really
Come on.
care about that stuff though, right? Like the lights are on in the kitchen when he
Yeah,
goes to
that's
take his
true.
breaks or
And the
whatever. Like,
stove works and everything
yeah,
else. So we cut to some kids talking about burning down Willy's Wonderland. They go to the trailer where the girl got handcuffed to the radiator, and these are clearly friends of hers. Although they're supposed to be teenagers, and one of those dudes looks like he's about 35 years old.
yeah. How old are they supposed to be?
I assume that she's supposed to be a teenager, the way she's like being rebellious and everything else. I guess they don't really say, to be fair,
Yeah,
but
because I'm trying to kind of
young
figure out.
adults.
Yeah, yeah. They're certainly on the younger side. I
But
mean,
one of them looks like they're like 40.
so okay, so Caylee Cowan, who plays the other girl, Kathy, she was born in '98. Just for perspective, there. Chris, who's a main guy, he was born in yes. A lot of these don't say on their IMDb's because they haven't done a lot.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I don't think they're supposed to be like super young. I don't know if they're supposed to be like adolescents.
So there's a lot of like horror movie trope. I mean, you are a good view on this whole thing, Derek, because you do a podcast with that is about horror movies. But so you probably appreciate this even more than like a normal person would. But there's so many horror movie tropes just in the casting of the group of kids, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like you have the one black guy, you have the like sex pot woman,
hmm hmm
overly sexualized. There's just several like common tropes.
Yeah,
You know,
you've got the Scream Queen leading lady, right? The
right,
final girl, excuse me. That's what I was
right,
searching for. The final girl. Yeah, it's all very. This is a very. This is very strange. This is two different movies that have kind of been tied together, and one of
and it
them is,
works.
and it's totally fine. But the movie about all the kids is just an extremely heavy-handed like B Scream Queen movie,
Right,
right? And then you've got the Nicolas Cage bit, which is like the Evil Dead,
right.
uh, you
Ash
know
Williams,
how Cabin in the Woods kind of movie
right,
with just a very unique protagonist who never speaks, which is kind of the hook of the movie because that's just not done.
right. Especially not with an actor like Nicolas Cage. So yeah, they are trying to figure out how to break her out of these handcuffs, and the sex pot girl, of course,
Her
comes
name is
over.
Kathy.
Well, I want to be clear. They're all tropes, right?
They
So
are
like,
they are
I want to be clear about who I'm talking about. But she's literally wearing like a leopard print skirt and like top that's with like a midriff showing and just it's chewing gum, the traditional like.
Fun fact, according to the props department, she went through 81 pieces of gum.
And they filmed this over a month, so how do you do the math?
That's a
That's
lot of
like two and a
gum.
half a day. It's not really that much actually if you think about it, put it that way.
But
If they're
she's only
filming
really
7 days a
chewing it
week.
in a handful of scenes. Once they're inside, she doesn't have it anymore.
True. But yeah, so they're trying to find the key to the handcuffs and everything else, and this girl just like pulls a hairpin out and immediately knows how to pick the lock. So cool. No question, no further
Cool.
questions. So
I
yeah,
did
they
like
get out,
you've got the main guy, Chris, who clearly has a crush on the final girl,
which
Liv.
is also the like trope, right?
Very tropey. Yeah, but it's very I like the way they handle it here though, because he's kind of a doofus,
Yeah,
right? He rams into the door that's a pull, not a push. He is looking for handcuff keys in the refrigerator,
yeah,
right? Like it's great. I
yes,
loved it. I love it.
yeah. Um, So yeah, they go to Willy's Wonderland, and they don't go there at this point, but we know that's where they're headed. But we get Janitor Cage at this point. The uh like owner guy has shown him like the uniform shirts and gave him a uniform shirt, which if you're a YouTube viewer, another little
Woo!
tidbit for you, I'm wearing. Thanks. Shout out to our frequent friend and not so frequent listener John who gifted that to me. Um but yeah, he gets a employee shirt, which apparently you need when you're working overnights at a place that's chain locked at night. I don't know, but yeah, they give him the shirt.
Yeah, like at first you're like, well, I guess the guy's like being polite so he doesn't screw up his cool clothes because he's wearing what in a regular movie might be his vengeance jacket
Right in the early part.
in the
Yeah,
early parts of this movie, right? And so I think like at first I'm like, okay, I guess he's just being polite. Like I didn't real like part of me was like maybe Tex is not in on it necessarily, but clearly he is. I mean, like it's not
yeah. Um, and they literally, we didn't to mention it, but they literally chain and padlock the door shut behind him. So he starts cleaning. In a zoomed out shot, we see that the shirt is only tucked in the front behind his belt buckle
hmm
for whatever reason.
That's a
Um,
popular thing. I've seen a lot of guys do
I
that.
don't get it. But whatever.
I mean, okay, I'll say this. I could see myself doing that if I'm wearing a belt because the buckle sometimes bothers my skin.
Okay.
So there you go.
I think it's more like a southern thing to show off decorative belt buckles,
Yeah, I'm
because
sure. I'm sure
belt
it is,
buckles are a
but
common thing.
yeah.
But I have here written soda number two. So we didn't cover soda
Yes.
number one, but there is earlier there is right away, like when he's first doing this Camaro commercial, you get a shot of like a bunch of sodas that he has, and um, he just slams it and crushes the can and throws it. So that's the first one. Well, now he's drinking soda number two.
They're all the same, by the way. They're all this punch
They're all the
pop.
same, like grape. It looks like a grape, but it's like a purple can.
It's called punch pop, and it's
You
got
don't
some
know if it's an
tagline.
energy drink or if it's a soda. It's not really clear.
It has the word pop on it, so I assumed it was a soda.
I guess
But
maybe
it's
it
a high
is.
caffeine thing. Like I'm thinking it's
Right.
like
Like
a
Jolt
jolt.
Cola.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he drinks another one of those, crushes it. And we get when Tex is leaving, also he makes sure to tell Nick, make sure you take your breaks.
Yeah, pace yourself.
Yes. And so Nick at that point takes his watch and sets a timer for I think 2 hours. He's taking breaks like every two
Is it
hours or
2 hours?
something.
I thought it was every hour.
Maybe every hour. I don't know. It's not really clear, but he definitely sets it for some sort of interval. We get a slow-mo reveal of a pinball machine. Like he runs his fingers over this thing extremely seductively.
He is excited.
I can only guess at what the direction was for this, but I'm pretty sure that either the director said or Nick said, "Make love to the machine."
I felt like he reacted to the pinball machine in the same way he reacted to Eleanor in Gone in 60 Seconds.
It was very similar, which was also very sexual.
Right, I agree. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean everything about the way he caresses and touches this machine, even in this very first, and we'll get to it later. It gets more aggressive later, but it is very like when he's cleaning it, he's being very gentle and like, he's very methodical in the way he is handling this machine. Um, right away we get the ostrich, which is probably the creepiest looking one of the animatronics, in my opinion. So there's 8 animatronics, mostly pretty much all different animal, with one that's a knight and one
Mhm.
that's a siren, which it just looks like a fairy basically.
Yeah.
Um, but right away the ostrich, while Nick is like cleaning the main room, this ostrich like gets closer to him and then stops moving when he turns and looks at it, kind of like the Doctor Who things that,
Yeah, the
or
angels.
like Boo's from Mario Brothers.
Sure.
Um, at least in the old games. I don't know if they still do that in the new games. But remember in the old games you would
Yeah.
like
Oh
look
yeah.
at him? Okay. You
They
looked
do as
at me
far as I
like I
know.
didn't. Okay.
No, no.
You looked at me like I was an idiot.
No, I'm pretty sure they still do.
Okay. Well, yeah, but so as soon as he turns to look at the ostrich stops moving. Um yeah, and so the fights in this movie, I'm gonna, there's probably a lot of people that shit on this. I'm gonna shout out the cinematographer, the director, the people that whoever decided to shoot these fights in a very specific way. I normally shit on fights in movies, action scenes that have a lot of cuts.
Mm.
Because generally, when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at like, I want to see the martial arts. I want to see the stunts and the moves that they put into this. But they don't really have any stunts or moves in these fights. It's mostly just like a bunch of sparks and mechanical grinding noises
Hmm.
and oil getting sprayed everywhere or like some other black substance.
Yeah.
But the way it's shot is really interesting because there's a lot of shots on all these fights of like Nick Cage grabbing like gorilla arms, for example, where you literally only see like you're from the gorilla's perspective, so you're really only seeing like these arms and like Nick Cage freaking out and fighting this gorilla, and you see the reverse also of like the gorilla with Nick Cage arms, and just the way it's filmed, I thought was really fun because
Yes.
it's different than like what a normal horror movie would be. It's much more
Mhm.
like tongue in cheek,
Oh
and
yeah.
I liked that a lot. I really appreciated that.
Well, because it
Um,
does remind me of like Evil Dead 2, right? Or
yes.
not as much Army of Darkness, but there's a cheesiness to it. There's a silliness to it, an absurdity to it, right? And like it's a lot of fun watching him tackle these things because each one is different, right? There's the ostrich, you said there's the knight and the gorilla, there's a chameleon, there's the siren, there's I forget the one that speaks Spanish. I don't remember what
It's
that's
a
supposed to.
turtle.
Is a turtle? Okay.
It's like a Mexican turtle, basically.
Okay. And then there's Willy, who's a giant weasel,
Yeah.
right? And they're all different and the fights are all unique, which is really
They
cool.
all
Like,
have their weapons and whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
it could have been so generic.
Yeah.
It really could have been. And most of the fights take place in different locations. And
Yeah.
when they don't, the room is set up in such a way where it just feels very different. Like, I really do feel like a ton of effort went into that aspect of the movie, and it really works.
It does. The funny part to me is that they say they're animatronics, right? So earlier in the movie, actually later in the movie from where we are, we find out a little more history on what these came to be. And it shows video or like old video of people getting into these suits, these
Mhm.
costumes. So they're clearly costumes, but then in the movie they're presented as animatronics.
I can answer that. This is a play on Chuck E. Cheese.
Right.
And Chuck E. Cheese has two of everybody. It has the mascot suit versions that can walk around and hang out with the kids, and the animatronic versions that play the music up on the stage.
Okay.
So it's
But
two
there was
different
only
things.
one version left at this point. It's really just
Right.
the animatronics left. But the
Yes.
way they fight is
Yes.
clearly stunt people wearing the costume. You know what I
Even
mean?
though
Like
they
they
put
don't move
sounds in and
really,
stuff, there's
but they don't
clunking.
move like animatronics. They're not
No.
meant to. I mean, they're doing this
Yeah.
on purpose. They know what they're doing, but
Yeah.
they are clearly. It kind of reminds me of like the old Godzilla movies, right? Where you can tell
Yes.
Godzilla is just a dude in a rubber suit, but
Yeah.
it works because it's hilarious.
Well, and
Not Godzilla, but in this case,
well, I mean, some of the Godzilla movies are funny, like the ones that were
yes,
made in the late '80s and the early '90s and stuff. Those are, when Godzilla has a kid. Those are pretty silly
yeah, that's
movies.
true.
I'm not talking the 1954 one. But like Siren Sarah, she's the one who kind of looks like a fairy. She, other than the head, which is like a smaller mascot head, I
Yeah.
think it's just the person's
A person's
body.
body. Yeah, I agree. And I do have a little bit of a fun fact about this. You and I are big puppet fans.
Yeah.
Um, do you know which one of those was? There was only one of those that was a puppet.
I mean, I assumed it was the ostrich.
It is the ostrich. You
Okay.
got that right. Yes, the ostrich was the only one of those that was a puppet. They had two green screen puppeteers that puppeteered the ostrich.
Cool. That's
So,
cool.
but
I
yeah,
didn't know that. That's
it was
neat.
cool. The rest are stuntmen in suits or stunt women, stunt
Yeah.
people in suits. So yeah, he fights this ostrich and he ends up beating the shit out of it. As you do. And then at the end of the fight, he decides to rip out, which is for whatever reason, an anatomically correct robotic spine. I don't know if it's anatomically correct to an ostrich, but it is clearly a spine of something.
it
Um,
and these are supposed to be built, I think, like Willy's opened up in like 1998 or 1999, they said in the movie.
I thought
But
it was older than that.
I thought they
But I
said it was
thought it was
20
like,
years old.
maybe.
I
I
thought
don't
they were
know.
saying. But these are some sophisticated animatronics. I'll tell you that right
With
now.
yeah, like they have vertebrae. Like
Yeah.
why does an animatronic need like accurate vertebrae?
I mean, I guess to do all the cool ostrich neck stuff that an ostrich can do. I don't know.
I guess. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be other ways to do that. I'm not a roboticist or anything, but come on now.
I'm going to
Uh,
need you to rebuild the ostrich,
right.
Ryan, and do it the
They
right way.
another fun fact, these are all these puppets actually sold on eBay recently. Like I remember
Really?
sending you, yeah, I sent you
I don't
probably
remember.
less than a year ago the eBay listings for all of these. They sold all of the costumes
Oh, man.
for the animatronics for this movie, and they didn't actually sell for that much. I think they were mostly around $10,000.
Yeah. I mean, it's still
Um,
more than I got, but
sure, and for most people, that's more than what they're going to spend on something from like a B-list movie. But people do love this movie, and I think in the next 20 to 30 years, it's going to be even more of a cult
well,
following.
because the thing for me is I love movies that are made by people who love what they're doing and love
And they love
movies
movies, yeah,
themselves, right? Like this was clearly made for fun,
right,
right? And you can feel that when you're watching the movie. And so for me, I automatically enjoy it more because of that.
agreed.
So I just appreciate it.
So yeah, I think in the next 20 years that it's going to become a cult movie. Um, More similar to like Army of Darkness, Evil Dead. We'll see. It
Yeah.
already kind of has those kind of legs, but so right when he starts the ostrich fight, the ostrich like pecks him
Yeah.
and cuts his cheek. So after the fight, we get a scene where he puts a piece of duct tape on his face.
Well, because the ostrich has this great line where it's like, I'm going to eat your face off.
Yeah, they all talk. All the animatronics talk. At this point, you're not really sure if it's like what is it? Is it like a demon possession or is it like a pre-recorded line from that they put in as a joke or something? But yeah, they all talk shit the whole movie to a guy that doesn't speak at all.
It's great.
Um, we get soda number three after this fight,
Mhm.
and we get the first exaggerated moan. from drinking the soda. There's a series, and you'll get this if you're so some of you may not know that Derek does a show where he reviews sodas and
Mhm.
pops, whatever you want to call them, and sometimes snacks. And he makes a lot of mouth noises, and they're very filmed very similar to the way that Nicolas Cage drinks his sodas in this. And in fact, I knew Derek would love this movie just because the sodas play a huge role in the movie. In fact, some could say that the movie was only ended the way it did because of soda, but we'll get
Yeah.
to that later. But yes, he drinks the soda and just like lets out a like he just came a little bit after he drank it. Um, sorry that
Oh
that
my
was
God.
grotesque, but that's the only way I can really describe it.
That's funny.
He really enjoys this soda.
I mean,
So
there's a whole scene where he places the cans one by one in the
oh,
fridge,
in the fridge
you
when he
know,
first gets there,
like
yeah, yeah,
they're a whole thing. Like, he has to take them out of his car, and like they are almost like
a
a
character.
co-starring character. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was funny because I had seen this before, but I watched this with my girlfriend who had not seen this before. And the very first scene where it's like a lingering shot on him drinking soda,
Mhm.
she did not. She was so confused. I was like, "Don't worry, you're gonna get. Well, you're not really gonna get, but you are gonna like get a little bit more from the soda. The soda it's explored throughout this whole movie, never revealed really, but just explored." Anyway, after this soda, which is soda number three, he goes to go clean the bathrooms,
Yeah.
which are covered in graffiti and things like that. And we get some really fun, sped up shots of him cleaning. I thought that was a really fun way of showing that.
I mean,
Um,
the truth is, like, it's a short movie. It's like an hour and 23 minutes or something like that.
yeah,
But like, I kind of wanted a version of this that's just him cleaning and killing animatronics back and forth because it was so mesmerizing for me to watch.
yeah,
I loved all of those sequences.
right. Yeah, he isn't phased at all by these animatronics. After he kills one, he immediately goes back to cleaning or taking a break, one of the two.
Mhm.
So while he's in the bathroom, he starts hearing noises and getting taunted by what sounds like another one of the animatronics. And there's four stalls in this bathroom. They're all locked for some reason. But he goes and kicks them all open, and there's nothing in the first three. And then he kicks the fourth one open. You're like, it's got to be in this one because this is the last stall. He kicks it open, and it's not in there. But then it is in there, and there's no explanation because the ceilings, you can see the ceilings when he's like first looking at the stalls, they're like a foot above the top of the stall.
Mhm.
So there's no place this gorilla could have hidden where
I
he
mean,
couldn't see him, unless it was like in the ceiling tiles and he like busted through the ceiling tiles.
well, later we find out that the ventilation system for Willy's Wonderland is larger than the one in Die Hard,
Yeah, that's true.
right? Like,
And more extensive, yeah.
this is some Bill and Ted in Hell ventilation system,
True.
like it's huge. So I mean, that's possible. I was going to take the approach of there's a, as we find out, there's a supernatural aspect to everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I am not convinced that they're incapable of just like
Cloaking.
like magically transporting places and moving around without being noticed. Like, there just appear to be that supernatural aspect, very Mike Myers, like, oh, he's
Sure.
30 yards away and oh my God, he's behind me now, like that type of horror
Yeah.
trope. Like, that's another trope in and of itself.
I only really questioned it for a second, and then I was like, okay, you know.
You're
But
on
yeah,
board.
my note was, where did that gorilla come from? And
Don't
so
worry
they're
about
fighting in this bathroom, and this one bathroom, Nick just spent all this time cleaning, and he immediately has to like smash the mirror and with the gorilla's head and everything else, and eventually ends up beating the gorilla by curb
it.
stomping
Yeah.
the gorilla's head into the toilet.
Urinal, yeah.
Yeah, which is a type of toilet. Yeah.
I know,
Um,
just specifying for people who maybe
but
didn't see it.
also he fights this gorilla with a plunger, which
It's
is
awesome.
I mean, he uses several melee weapons throughout this movie, but that's on our bingo card. So we haven't really been covering the bingo card. I think at this point we've got uses a melee weapon, has facial hair, wears glasses.
Absolutely.
At
Yeah.
this point.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. Oh, okay. One thing we didn't mention is after he fights the ostrich, he's covered in oil
Yes.
or blood or whatever from this ostrich.
I'm
So,
going with oil.
as a good employee does, when he's dirty, he goes and gets another shirt from the closet, which when the guy opens it and grabs the shirt for him, it looks like there's only maybe three shirts in there. It's not a tall stack of shirts, but
They're supernatural too.
they're also supernatural. They're regenerating shirts. So he has already changed his shirt to this point. So after he fights this gorilla, he goes on to shirt number 3. He changes again. And when he kills these creatures, he's putting them in trash bags and moving them by the front door.
And he does realize he can't get out when he does that
Right.
the
But
first time.
he also doesn't care.
Yeah, not phased.
Also, when he's putting on his shirt, his third shirt, he's duct taping his torso,
Yes.
as you do.
I thought he might have like hurt his ribs fighting the gorilla.
That's what the explanation is, but we don't really
So
see anything that would indicate that happened. With the ostrich, we see like the cut on his face happen. After
yeah,
that, we don't really see any wounds from him. We just see duct tape covering whatever the wounds are.
I mean that's certainly true.
Well, no, I guess that back at the end with the weasel, he
yeah.
does get some wounds then, but
I guess I just
um
watched so many movies where people have hurt themselves that just seemed like what he was doing.
yeah, no, I agree that's what he was doing. We also get soda number 4 at this point. And he moans twice after the
Mm-mm-mm.
soda, and he decides that he should use this break to file his nails with sandpaper
Yeah, I don't know why he did that. That doesn't seem to come back.
because it makes him a tougher guy.
Does it?
Yeah, because he doesn't use nail clippers like a little bitch. He
Maybe it
uses
makes him better.
sandpaper.
Maybe it makes him better at pinball because that's a
I don't know,
subplot that he's very, very good at pinball.
or not really that he's good at it, but that he enjoys it.
I mean, he rolls over the high score, man.
I guess, but
I mean, I've
people
played some
probably
pin.
got killed while they were playing before, so it's not really that impressive. Anyway, so the kids finally get to the building, the Willy's Wonderland building, and they're discussing what to do. They're throwing gasoline all over the outside, and they're getting ready to light it when the first girl that was at the very beginning, realizes that there's still that weird guy is in here still,
Mhm.
and that she's not okay with burning down the place with him alive in it. And so she decides that she's going to go on the roof and climb in and get him out because she sees him in the window and tries to get his attention, and he just kind of ignores her.
Like you do.
So she goes in the ventilation systems, and you can hear her like banging around, and you can see like the animatronics turn on. Also, throughout this movie, the animatronics just kind of turn on randomly.
Yeah.
Um, so as she's crawling through the vents, we get some like weird things happening behind her, weird motion, weird sound effects, and eventually she gets attacked by the Ventigator,
Right. The crocodile one.
which is a type of reptile that only hangs out in the vents and eats people that are in the vents, the
I'm sh-
extensive vent system.
I'm sure it comes down sometimes.
Yeah. And so she gets chased by this guy, and eventually I think they fall through or she falls through a
Hmm.
part of the vents, and she comes up and looks around, and she's in like a forest, which apparently this Chuck E. Cheese has a room that's just a forest with like hallucinogenic drugs being pumped in.
There's themed rooms. There's that room. There's the space room. There's the birthday room where the ritual took place. There's all these like this is a big building. This is
It's a
much
big
more
facility.
sophisticated than a
Yes.
regular Chuck E. Cheese.
Yes. Um, yeah, and I had my notes Chuck E. Cheese for us. Um, so when she goes in and she doesn't come out immediately, the other teens are up on the roof and they're discussing what to do. And I couldn't get past the sky behind them
Really?
because it was very clearly just like a static painting.
Hmm.
They just had like painted in the background.
I didn't notice.
Oh God, there's like no depth to it. I mean, they tried. Look, I know this movie was on a very small budget and they only had a month to film it, but yeah, this sky was just painted and there's like no weather. There's nothing.
That's interesting.
Um, And
I
it's
was
just this one scene, so they didn't really
yeah,
need to make it crazy.
I was really distracted in this scene because so I just want to preface with that I do really love this movie, but the dialogue in this movie is like bonkers bad.
But I think it's
And
meant to be like cheesy and bad.
I think you're right, but like I don't know how they got through some of these lines.
Yeah.
They're historically bad lines, right? And so they're just up there arguing with each other. And of course, Chris apparently is in love with Liv, the final girl who went inside, right? So they're gonna give him a hard time about that. And you got the tough guy who's, wants to torch the place. And
Right.
it's all very, very tropey, very heavy-handed. It works. It totally works in this context, but I was distracted by all that, I think.
It was bad. But basically they all decide to go in
No,
after her.
no. They
Yeah, because
fall through the roof.
oh, that's right. I just my next note was just all teens fall in, but I thought maybe that was in the events. But you're right. Yeah, they all just fall through the roof
Because
because
Chris tackles Bob, right? And they apparently the roof is so unstable that just two guys falling over blast straight through the roof of
right.
the building, and they all fall into the ball pit.
Yes. And the next scene is, I think, my note just says town history exposition, but I think that's given by the sheriff
Yeah, so the
to
sheriff,
the guy, rental guy, the rent-a-cop that came in from
yeah, I don't
another
know, like is he
city.
like a deputy on loan or something? I'm not
Well,
exactly sure.
sometimes police departments do that. If they are expecting a lot of activity or something in their area, then they'll get nearby like police departments to send somebody over for overtime or whatever. That is a
Yeah.
thing that happens.
Yeah, I don't they didn't explain it super well, so I wasn't
Right.
100% sure. But yeah, they're just sitting waiting for the phone to ring, and then it does.
Well, not yet.
Well, doesn't the explanation happen after the
No, I
sheriff?
think I don't think so. Because I put something in here about that, but that's way later because there's several other deaths that have to happen before that guy gets hunted down when he calls. But
Fair
basically,
enough.
whoever does it, it doesn't really matter at this point. But we find out that um, Willy's Wonderland was created by a serial killer, a very prolific serial killer, and he used Willy's Wonderland as a means of blood sacrifice and killing families, essentially. And he hired people that also wanted to do such things. And so they had this one room where they did birthday parties um, that they would sacrifice the birthday party people, the
Mhm.
family in this room. Um, so the guys in the suits would murder the people, and they eventually ended up doing a satanic ritual. They call it a satanic suicide ritual,
Yeah.
where they all there's literally like one guy laying in like a pentagram,
Hmm.
and other guys are doing the ritual around him.
They,
Um,
they they drank some type of Kool-Aid, which is very tropey for what cults like that do.
right. And they made a deal with the devil to come back or whatever, something like so it's implied that they are like now that the satanic ritual was to so that they could keep killing people.
Yeah, like it's very Child's Play Chucky
Yes.
is basically what happens here, right? Because that's what he is. He's a serial killer who gets reincarnated in the doll, right? This is
Yeah.
what happens to them. They sacrifice themselves and their souls or whatever get moved to the animatronics.
Yes. And it's apparently the super happy fun room is what it's called. The room where
Yes.
they did the suicide ritual and where they murdered all the birthday party families. My next note is this chick is so horny. So this sex pot particular character, when like earlier in the movie, when they were going up the ladder to the roof to follow the girl, like she's wearing the shortest skirt you can imagine, and like all the guys are like looking up the skirt, and there's this one dude, the token
Bob.
black guy of the movie.
Bob.
That's Bob. Yes, he's the token black guy of the movie, but he is like they're in a relationship or something. And so he's like,
Yeah.
stop looking, whatever. And then he looks. But when they all fall in, of course, Bob and her go to this super happy fun room where they're going to fucking bone. And
Keeping in mind that Bob was the one who refused to go inside and wanted to light the place on fire with Nick inside, now wants to go peek around and check stuff out.
yes.
That's a bit of a switch.
But then they go to the super happy fun room where she's just like this crazed, horny person that can't think of anything other than sex. But the rest of the group goes to where the main room where all the animatronics are, where a song starts playing about six little chickens,
Hmm.
two hens, which matches the number of kids that came down there, and including specifically women.
Hmm.
And it's about how they're all gonna die. And the song ends with like, "Oops, now five little chickens," and the knight stabs the like dumb dude through the chest with
Yeah.
his what apparently is a real sword.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
unclear like why these animatronics have super sharp talons or like real swords that can stab people.
It does seem overly dangerous for a kid's thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
they did murder people with these costumes on, so
It's true.
but yeah, he like stabs through the chest with a sword from behind, that kind of look, and then you get the scene where like somebody's looking through the chest wound. Um, and then yeah, I think on this one, does Nick come out and sword fight him?
No.
Who fights him?
She does. Liv, the final girl,
Okay,
fights him.
right.
Yeah.
Nick is busy having soda. Oh, is this the one where he comes out and he's like, "I'm gonna help you," and then he immediately leaves because he's
No,
on his break?
that's the chameleon.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
at this point he has his fifth soda. Um, and that's fun. And then it cuts to the token black guy and the sex pot making love with woman on top sex, which is on the bingo
Woo!
card.
Ding 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 ding.
Um, in this room. And I mean, she's going for it. This actress, like, listen, I'm reducing her character to the minimum because that's all it is, really. But she did a really good job portraying like the generic horror movie, you know,
Yep.
character like that. So, like, kudos to her. She really goes for it. But yeah. So then it cuts them, and then it cuts between, it's like straight from them fucking to Nick humping the pinball machine.
Mm.
I mean, he is straight up like hip thrusting this pinball machine while he's playing it. Maybe that's a technique. I am not a professional pinball player.
Supposedly he improvised all of his pinball dancing.
Well, this was not the dance.
This is not the dance. Okay.
No, that's later towards the end. But this is just like he's playing the pinball very aggressively.
Okay.
Um, and then yeah, the kids start being hunted.
Hmm.
You know, you get so earlier in the movie when the girl first came down and she's in that forest, we didn't really talk about it, but the siren shows up and is like fucking with her, and she
Hmm.
stabs the siren, I think, at that point, and
Yeah, she has like a switchblade kind of
switchblade,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Nick comes in and takes the switchblade from her,
Yeah.
and then he gives it back to her later with the
When they go to
chameleon.
fight the chameleon. Yeah.
Yeah. um but yeah, that so she escapes from the siren, but the siren is still running around in there.
Hmm.
um but yeah, now the kids are being like systematically hunted one by one. um One of the kids goes and hides in like this arcade machine
Yeah.
and calls the sheriff. And this is where
Hmm.
that call happens, where the sheriff picks up the phone and the kid says what's happening, and then the sheriff hangs up. And the other like deputy guy is like, "Well, what was that about?" And she's like, "Oh, prank call." So
Great
clear at that
sheriff. She's
point that
so good.
at this point it's clear that something is going on that we are not privy to, because that's not
Right.
something a normal person would do. Um, I said that they need an electrician in this place, not a janitor, because there's just so many flickering lights and like power surges that it's a real problem.
Well,
But
lots of interference from demonic energies.
yeah, exactly, which we all know interferes with electricity.
Absolutely.
Um,
It's a hassle.
we then get Nick fighting the knight. He ends up cutting its head off, I believe.
Yes. Yes, he
Yeah,
does.
with a lot of oil comes out when he chops the head off.
Hmm.
Um, while the teens are having sex, uh, the woman points out that there's something staring at them, and the guy is like, "Okay, well, let's put on a show," which was weird.
Well, because at first he's like, "Yeah, that's been there the whole time," and then she's like, "But
Yeah,
it's staring at me," and he's like, "All right, well, put on a show then, right?" Like, so
and
they
then it
don't,
immediately eats them.
and then yeah,
It kills them both, like disembowels them.
very quickly.
Yeah, because it's the alligator or
Hmm.
crocodile or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, we do get a slow-mo Nick door kick. I don't. Oh, I think it's into that room
It
because at
is.
this point, after he kills the knight, the final girl is going and she finds Nick and she's like, "My friends are getting killed," and so he does like the super awesome slow-mo kick
It's great.
and into this room, and he does judo to the alligator or maybe
Oh,
jujitsu.
okay.
Haha, reference.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Nick has another movie called Jiu-Jitsu that we reviewed. Check it out. But
yeah.
not the movie, please, but the podcast.
Episode
Uh,
61, if anyone's interested.
yeah, so he has like a grappling match with this alligator, and eventually, like he keeps trying to split its jaw apart.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
He's like,
like yeah, you see
"Ugh."
where you split the jaw and it, like splits their face in half. And I think
Mhm.
he eventually kind of does it, but then
Yeah,
he reaches into the mouth and pulls some sort of piece of machinery out,
yeah.
and at that point, it's dead. I guess.
The animatronic brain. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Um, yeah, so then it's revealed the sheriff does the big reveal to this deputy that um after they shut down Willy's Wonderland, after the suicide pact happened, there started being strange murders around the city, things like that, where they were unexplained, and then eventually they traced them back to Willy's Wonderland, and they uh figured out that these characters were possessed. And so, in turn for them not murdering people from this town, they would bring sacrifices to Willy's Wonderland, which is why all this stuff was like on routine. They showed another couple. Oh, they show the people from the beginning
Right.
also hitting a spike strip and being
Mhm.
taken into town by the same guy with the tow truck, and this whole same thing happening, except that they have a daughter,
Mhm.
and it's revealed that the final girl is the woman's kid that not her kid, but like the one she's
The
been
little
taking
girl.
care of. The,
Yeah.
the parents get killed and the woman survives or the kid survives the night, and then the sheriff takes her in kind of at that
Mhm.
point. Um, so yeah, she knows what's going on at Willy's Wonderland. She's seen it firsthand. But yeah, that's how that's what's going on. So we're finally revealed. Um, yeah, my next note is tongue neck break. Oh, because the chameleon
Yes.
goes after the guy that's I didn't know it was a chameleon. I couldn't figure out what the fuck this thing was supposed to be. I thought it was like an alien or something. I know
Oh,
it was a
but
lizard later.
all the cool color stuff and everything, like,
It just looks like it was wearing a dress, and I'm like, I don't really know why this thing's wearing a dress, but it was not the most clear what that was. But
fair
then when the
enough.
tongue started getting used, I mean, it became more clear. But then it's like, is this a frog? Is this a chameleon? In any case, the chameleon like is talking. This kid is like sitting there scared, and the chameleon comes in and is like, "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm different than the others." Obviously, like that's a lie.
Again, another really great horror trope to, lull you in, right? And this is Chris. This is the guy who's in love with the final girl.
Yes, and so when he wants to believe this animatronic, and so he starts communicating with the chameleon, and eventually he gets close enough. The chameleon shoots the tongue out and breaks his neck with the tongue.
One fell swoop, just
Yes,
crack.
and so
That was a little
Nick,
shocking. That was one
it
of the shocking
was.
moments. Yeah.
Nick and the girl come into this room like right after the kid dies, and the chameleon turns around, and Nick's like getting ready he comes in with like his fists up like he's gonna box it, and then his alarm on his phone goes off, and so he's like he looks at his or on his wrist goes off on his watch, and so then he hands the girl her switchblade from earlier in the movie and walks away.
Just leaves. I
Yeah, and
laughed. I
goes to have
straight up
it
cracked
was
up.
hilarious. I mean, it was hilarious. It was meant to
Yeah.
be. But the soda number six, he drinks now. And she's in there like fighting for her life. at
Hmm.
this point. But after Nick's break is up, he goes and gets like a bunch of cordage, some sort of electrical cords or something,
Hmm.
and he comes in and kills the chameleon with the net or with that rope, whatever, strangles it, I guess. And then he changes into his fourth shirt. So we're on soda number 6 and shirt number 4 at this point.
Hmm.
I think the girl is hurt at this point or something. They're rushing back somewhere. I can't remember where, but they walk through this hallway, and two of the animatronics are in this hallway, like coming at him. And Nick just like punches them and keeps walking past them, which was
Yeah,
hilarious. Also, it's
that's
like,
so
what the
good.
fuck?
Yeah.
Um, but the sheriff breaks in and is holding Nick at gunpoint. He sees what the Nick has done. With the she sees the trash bags with the dead animatronics, and she's holding Nick at gunpoint. And so they handcuff him. Well, they don't handcuff him. They use like zip ties.
Hmm.
They zip tie him. His hands behind his back. And she's so apologetic to Willy. She's like, "I'm so sorry, Willy. Here, you can have him." And she takes the girl, who is the last one of the kids left,
Hmm.
to with her. And of course, you know the line I'm about to say. She says the Rorschach
It's
line.
so good,
Do you
man.
want to say it? Go for it. Give it to us, Derek.
You don't get it. He's not trapped in here with them. They're trapped in here with him.
Yes, which if you've watched Watchmen or read the graphic novel, that's what Rorschach says to the people in jail is that he's not trapped in there with them. They're trapped in here with him. He does this after he slings hot cooking oil over somebody's face. Uh, yeah, a really great
It's
scene in both the graphic novel and the movie.
yeah.
But yeah, this completely rips that off.
It's so funny though. It's so
It is
funny.
great.
Yeah.
And that's from the girl,
Yeah. That's
the
Liv.
final girl. Yeah,
Hmm.
Liv. Uh, so the animatronics are all in this room with him now, and he does like this slow motion get up from kneeling, and then do you remember what he does right before he starts fighting him?
Well, now I don't think I do.
He back kicks the jukebox,
Right. Yes. Such a
which
great
turns on
moment.
the music. It was so good.
Yes.
He
Yes. It was
kicks the
awesome.
jukebox, and the music starts. The Willy's like Wonderland music starts playing, and he starts fighting these guys with his hands tied behind his back. Um,
Which is great. It's so great.
yeah, it was good. Uh, we get cut to another scene where the officer that has the girl,
Hmm.
I believe,
Yeah.
the Mexican turtle has been riding on
The
this
roof of
cop
the car,
car the whole
apparently.
time. Nobody noticed.
Nobody knows this
But
giant animatronic.
yeah, so it reaches in the window and like eats the guy.
Kind of.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and so that's well, no, this is not the car with the girl. This is the just him in this car, I think, at this point,
No, no,
isn't
no.
it?
They're both in there because the sheriff
Okay.
is staying to make sure Nick actually dies.
Right.
So she sends the other cop guy to take Liv out of there,
Right. And
right? And
she runs away.
she's trying to like guilt the cop into going back and doing the right thing and all this.
Right.
And then yeah,
Um Nick breaks the neck, which is apparently a thing you can do to animatronics. I don't remember which animatronic it was, but he uses his thighs to break the neck of one of the animatronics while he's still zip tied.
we think he does because he's doing that to Siren Sarah.
That's right, but she doesn't die.
She doesn't die. We think she dies.
But then he breaks the zip ties with his arms,
Hmm.
which you can also see Reacher do. Which apparently Nick is the same strength level as Jack Reacher. Um, so Siren Sarah goes down, and Willy is just watching all of this happen. His animatronic doesn't really move much through most of this. It's in the same spot.
Well, because it
So
is a
then
little weird. Like most of the movie, it's 1-on-1, maybe it's 2-on-1, but there were 8 of these. They could have just jumped him. I doubt he would have won in that case.
yeah, but they all want the joy of killing him.
Yeah.
That's because they're serial killers or whatever. So then he changes into his fifth shirt, and he has the seventh soda, and this is when he does the dance while playing
Ding ding
pinball,
ding.
which is also kind of confusing because why is he dancing out of nowhere? But you know what? It works. I'm
Well, the
fine with it.
music's still playing because he started the jukebox.
True, true.
Yeah.
And so we have that on our bingo card as well. Nick dances. So that's always good. At first, you don't really know if he's dancing. It's like a quick movement that could be interpreted as a dance, but then he's full out dancing after that.
Yes.
And after this, the sheriff comes in and holds him at gunpoint again.
Well, because he
Um,
comes out to drag some of them to the trash bin, and she's
right,
like
and
in the
he like
truck and
waves at her.
watches.
Yeah, he
He
waves at her
does.
when he
He
does it.
totally does. It's
And so she comes out of the truck and is like holding him at gunpoint, and walks him back in. And at this point, Willy moves for the first time, and she's like so apologetic to Willy, but Willy uses his claws to slice the sheriff completely in half.
it's amazing.
And it's very much an Army of Darkness, like when he's in the gets thrown into the blood pit, and then just they throw one guy in ahead of Ash, and there's just like a blood fountain that shoots out of the pit. That's basically what happens to the sheriff's body. Is like the bottom half stays standing, and it just like blasts or blasts blood out of that torso. Which how is their blood pressure after the heart is gone? Hard to say, but
Don't
it
worry
works.
about
It's
it.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, shut up, nerd. Don't worry about it. Um, yeah, and you start getting really big Mandy vibes. At least I did at this point. There's a lot of the scene, and really throughout a lot of this movie, there's a lot of red and blue lighting, which is
Yes.
very similar to Mandy. And the violent parts are similar to Mandy, not in the fact that they're overly cheesy, but just like they're gratuitous, which
Well,
Mandy also was.
yeah, Kevin Lewis said that he was inspired by the director of Mandy and Color Out of Space and all that. And so yeah, I mean you could all the internal shots in Willy's Wonderland, you can definitely see some through lines with that comparison
Yes,
for sure.
agreed. And so Nick goes to fight Willy, and Willy just slashes he could slash the sheriff in half, but he can't do that to Nick. He just slashes his shirt a bunch and like knocks him into a ball pit.
Well, there's
Uh
two possible explanations for that. One is that Willy's fucking with him because Willy's pissed,
yeah.
right? And wants to kind of torture him in this case for killing all of his buddies. Or two, which we'll talk about, there's something special about those sodas.
Correct. And so Willy like throws him into the ball pit. He like checks the ball pit and assumes he's dead and then walks away.
Which is just a
Well,
rookie villain move right
we
there.
get yeah, rookie animatronic villain move. We get a slow-mo shot of like it made me think of when Patton Oswalt is describing in Parks and Rec uh the gloved hand of Boba Fett it comes out of the Sarlacc pit onto the desert sands of Tatooine. It was exactly like that with
Oh
Nicolas
my
Cage's
god.
hand coming out of the ball pit in slow-mo.
Oh man. I was thinking more kind of Terminator-esque. It just felt very Terminator in that moment.
Yeah, it
Um,
was. I agree. But he decides he needs a weapon. He cannot fight Willy one on one. So the perfect Derreck move is he goes into the
what?
kitchen. You're a soda guy. You're literally a soda review show. He takes all his sodas and puts them in like a bag,
It's a
not like
sack.
a
He
like
had
a
it.
sack.
It's
Yeah, like
his. Yeah, he
yeah.
brought it with him.
It's the sack that he had the sodas in to begin with,
It's like a
and he like
potato sack or
ties
something.
it really tight.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like some sort of like plant-based fiber sack.
Yeah.
But yeah, he ties it in not really tight, and he beats the shit out of Willy.
Well, he also tapes together like two halves of a broomstick or something like
Yeah.
that. I'm not
So
exactly
he has
sure.
like a baton, and then he has like the bludgeon, like Morningstar type thing with the sodas. And he ends up ripping Willy's head off with one hand.
Hmm. But like the whole time, all this confetti is flying. The entire fight scene, there's all this confetti. I would love to know how much freaking confetti they used in this because it is going the entire time.
It's true.
It made for a really
Oh, because
interesting.
there's a it's been hinted at several times in the movie. before this, but there's a red button on the wall that says
Yeah.
happy birthday. And every time, if somebody looks at it, you're like, they're going to press it. They're going to press it. They're going to press it. Nobody presses it. Well, Willy knocks Nick Cage into the button. And
Hmm.
then that activates like all these lights and the confetti that you're talking about and everything like that. So,
Which was I think a really great finale.
yes,
Like really well. I mean, it's clearly painfully telegraphed, right? It's
sure.
perfect. It's by the numbers, and it pays off
And
really well.
even more perfect, do you remember what song comes on?
Oh, come on. See, I don't take notes as I'm watching,
One
so
of my favorite. Okay, we know that, Derek. Jeez, come on now. But it's one of my favorite action scenes in any movie that I've ever watched was choreographed to this song. Not in this movie, but
just
Freebird.
oh yeah, yeah,
And this is after the fight scene, sadly, so you don't get like an action scene set to Freebird.
yeah. Hmm.
But it comes on with the slow part of Freebird from the beginning after this action scene.
It's
Um,
yeah, I forgot. That's great.
so he puts on his leather jacket. Here's my argument, okay? I think this is still a vengeance jacket moment. Maybe not in our traditional sense, but he's just so these people in this town, he knows at this point they've set him up. It's been revealed to him that they've set him up. Okay. We don't get any backstory on the janitor, but he kills every single animatronic in that place
Hmm.
and gets vengeance, right?
Yeah,
When he walks out, he's still alive at the end of the day. These people see him walk out still alive. He has gotten his vengeance, and now his vengeance on these people is walking out alive to get his car.
yeah.
So I have that argument for Vengeance Jacket. There's also, we might as well get into some of these now. There are very many, they're very many. There's a lot of fan theories about this movie,
Okay.
right? One of them that you've touched on is that the cans of soda are actually like a super soldier serum type of deal
Yeah.
that only lasts for an hour or whatever the interval is that he uh has to take them for his breaks.
Hmm.
So that's one of the fan theories. Might as well get that out there. There's another fan theory that he was one of the original kids that went to Willy's Wonderland and all those years ago, and he
Mm.
knows what these animatronics are because he already seems to have some idea what's going on when he gets there. He's not phased at all by the fact that these animatronics are attacking him.
No, I subscribe to that he was sent. Right. So we do get we know he's a military guy. It's the only thing that we really know about
We
him.
only really know that because there's a set of dog tags hanging in his car. That's
Right.
it.
So I think he was sent to destroy them. I think that's why he's never phased about the flat tire or not being able to pay or like none of it. No, he just goes along and nods along with every single thing because he was sent there to destroy them.
Can I give you the one that I subscribe to?
Please.
That the janitor is Red from Mandy.
It's the same guy.
Same guy. He's
That's
still burned
interesting.
out from what happened 30 years ago. His social skills never fully recovered to the point that he doesn't communicate much. He also will not pass up an opportunity to stop the machinations of yet another cult, the likes of which he's come to recognize. Tying in with the likelihood that Red's a recovering alcoholic, the janitor drinks soda all the time, which, if you've known alcoholic people that get sober, a lot of times they have something that fills that gap. Um, some aspect of his ambiguously human nature, or like the contract that he took in Mandy when he took the drugs and things like that. There was kind of like this contract where now he's extra powerful. Um, he basically he's powered up, right? He's got
Uh-huh.
superhuman cleaning ability. Anything that gets in his way or prevents him from accomplishing his side of the bargain gets cleaned. He's like an almighty janitor at this point. He has like fey powers essentially after Mandy.
So I think maybe some of that goes a little far, but I love the idea that it's the same guy. I really like that. I think the idea that like, he knows a cult when he sees one and he's not going to let them, hurt anybody
Well,
else type of thing.
so the stuff that you think went too far is a tie into a different fan theory that he's actually a Fae creature.
Really?
Yes, from
Based
like the
on
Fae
what?
world. He's bound by verbal contracts that he follows to the letter, lives off of sugar drinks, never speaks, and is preternaturally good at cleaning. In support of this, he never touches cold iron. The railroad spikes are steel. These are some Fae mythology things that people may not know
Fascinating.
about. He never touches cold iron. The road spikes are steel on a rubber strip. The only metal he uses cleaning is aluminum buckets. The cola cans are aluminum. He doesn't use any kind of metal weapon. The cabinet of the pinball machine is wood with an aluminum frame. The Camaro he drives is a steel body with aluminum frames. And some of the cleaning scenes, such as the bathroom, um, where it's sped up, maybe it wasn't actually sped up, and he has a supernatural cleaning ability that allows him to clean faster, and that explains how he was able to get so much done in an overnight. So those other things that I mentioned, the janitor's faith theory, he has a magically binding contract that he can't ignore, which is part of the Fae mythology, and it also
Yeah,
ties in the events of Mandy.
that is super interesting. So now that you go through all of it, I take back what I said. That's
Yes,
very cool.
yeah, I think that there's some credence to that. But going back to my Vengeance Jacket theory, if in fact he was somebody that was there when the original Willy's Wonderland, stuff happened, then that could be considered vengeance as well. They took vengeance upon the
Yeah,
robots.
he's just I think he's too old to be one of the kids. He'd have to be a parent or something.
See, I thought it was the way it was filmed made it look like it was way older.
No, they
Like
said it was 20 years,
maybe they did. Yeah, I don't.
you
Maybe you
know.
you could be right on that. Yeah. Anyway, so those are some of the fun fan theories that go with this. The soda. Oh, also there's the thing that it's treated this like a video game. This is kind of inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's.
Hmm.
The idea with the pinball machine is that's when he's leveling up between
Mm,
fights,
nice. I like
because
that.
every time he goes to the pinball machine, he had just previously fought somebody
Right.
and now has enough experience in the game to level up.
Right. And he replenishes his health with another soda.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's also a theory about the cans themselves not actually being aluminum. Because when he creates the weapon sack out of them and just beats up Willy, if you use regular soda cans to do that, they would break.
Sure, but I mean,
Right. So there's a
not all of
theory.
them.
I mean, maybe not all of them, but keep in mind they're not hitting a person. They're hitting metal and gears and very
Right, but
hard.
also when he hits them with wood, the wood doesn't break. So there's already some kind of supernatural infusion in the
Yeah.
elements in this place.
I mean, that's certainly true. So it does kind of beg some questions like, what is this drink? Why is he obsessed with it? Right.
Right.
It's clearly not like it's not product placement, which it easily could have been,
Yeah.
like the Camaro. This easily he could have been drinking Coke the whole time.
Right.
Right. And then,
And nobody would have cared.
right. But no, this is a very specific type of drink. It has its own tagline to it. It's like a punch in the kisser or something like that, I think
Yeah,
is the
there's like
line.
this whole lore to just this drink.
Right. And so I think it all really does tie together. And I like the idea that it gives him powers or abilities or something that's more than human. I like the idea that I love the Mandy idea. The Mandy idea is great. That's just super fun. I want that to be true. My initial thought though is like, he was sent there to destroy them.
So you're still sitting with that.
So, well, he still could be the guy from Mandy and he learned about this and purposefully went there to destroy them.
Could
Right.
be.
The Fae part is super interesting. I'm
Less
not saying,
likely to be actual backstory for the movie, I think.
yeah, like it's hard
Yeah.
for me to say like yes, that's what
But
it
the good
is.
news is there
But
isn't like this movie is one off. I mean, maybe they'll make a sequel someday, but for the most part, is one off. You don't get any. There's no comic book tie-ins,
right,
nothing like that. So the lore is what you make of it.
there was a 4-issue miniseries prequel comic.
So did that give answers to the stuff that?
I haven't read it, so I
Okay.
can't say.
I mean, I know in the original screenplay they had him like get his shirt torn at one point, and you could see a Marine tattoo on his chest.
Oh, interesting.
But they took that out because they wanted it to be more ambiguous. The only thing left of that ex-military storyline is the dog tags.
Which may have been
That
left in by accident.
it was. I don't doubt it was an accident. They probably just didn't feel like reshooting that or
Oh, fair,
something.
fair enough. Yeah, yeah.
They didn't think it would be a big enough deal that people would latch onto the lore so
Little
much that they'd be looking for any little thing.
little did they know we're freaking nuts out here.
So those are my arguments for Vengeance Jacket. Take it or leave it. Doesn't matter to me. It doesn't affect the outcome of my bingo card in any way. But then we get the befriends a minor square of the
Yeah.
bingo card because when he leaves, he takes his Camaro back, and which apparently the owner of Willy's Wonderland has just been collecting all the cars from these people that he sends in there. But when he gets into his Camaro with his soda that's all still intact, um, the the final girl, gets in with him because her mom is dead, or the person that was taking care of her is dead, and so she gets in with him. And so then we get another Camaro commercial where it shows the radio and it shows the gauge cluster, and he does a burnout and whatever else, and he offers the girl a soda. Um, and then we get some like kind of follow up just to kind of answer some loose ends. But I had the note, why didn't they just kill if these things could just be killed that easily, then why didn't they just kill them like during the day when they weren't coming alive?
So here's the problem with that. The whole movie, we're told, right, or shown anyway, that they really only come alive at night. The problem is, though, that Siren Sarah is still alive. She
During the
comes,
day, yeah.
and it is during the day. She comes out of the trash, right, and she blows up Tex and what's his name,
The tow truck
the
driver guy,
tow
yeah.
truck guy, right?
She
She
grabs the
blows them
thing of
up.
like gasoline, which
Mhm.
apparently explodes very, very explosively.
Well, it's
I
a
mean,
Michael Bay movie.
right, yeah. I mean, it's a huge explosion, and we don't know if she survives the blast. It shows her getting blasted back, but we don't really
Right.
see anything after that.
But all we learn from that, though, is they can do stuff during the day.
Well, because
So,
it's not just Siren Sarah. We get soda number 8, which
oh,
is
right.
shared between the two of them, and then as they're driving away, the Mexican turtle that survived its encounter gets hit
Yeah.
by the car.
Uh-huh.
When they hit it with the Camaro when they're driving away.
Yeah, Tito the Turtle, that's his name. There it is. Yeah.
Yes.
So that begs the question then, why don't they do stuff during the day? Why does it seemingly wait until nightfall? And my thought process is that's just the deal that was made, was that they would bring somebody at night, they would get that person at night, and they leave everybody else alone. Was like the deal. And now the deal's been broken.
Yeah. Fair enough. Could be.
That's my thought. That's how I've worked it out.
So usually on these podcasts, we do read some reviews from people that thought it was really good or really bad, and we see if that sways our opinion at all. So Derek, would you like me to start with the 1-star reviews or the 10-star reviews for this one?
Let's start with the 1 stars.
Okay, there's 91 1-star reviews.
Jesus.
The very top one says, "Just know. I don't know where to begin, but if you could find out what kind of cleaning solution he was using, I'd love to know."
That's fair.
Yeah. This one says, this is from RP Barnstormer. It was not remotely humorous. It was not remotely scary or horrific. The action was really poorly orchestrated and not even remotely gruesome. Even in the most ridiculous moments, I found nothing redeeming. I think watching Pennywise play whack-a-mole in the balloon filling game at a dark carnival for 90 minutes would be more entertaining.
Jesus.
Nick Cage must be desperate for a paycheck. I swear I've seen the gamut of Nick Cage films. No, you haven't. Everything from great to mediocre to so bad it's good. This one is just bad, plain and simple, period. I can't imagine that you have seen that many Nick Cage films if you think this is a bad movie. Um, did Nicolas Cage really have to fall this low? Pure garbage. This is one of those trash DVDs that end up selling for $1 in the Dollar Tree, and no one buys unless someone needs something to put under a wobbly table.
Wow. Brutal.
Nicolas Cage should be embarrassed and ashamed to have stooped so low. This film is so pathetic and low budget with a script that has no plot, makes no sense, and is completely boring. I cringe to think that the hero and main actor of Con Air and such an amazing actor has agreed to a script that makes me think he has fallen to the lowest of the low.
Okay,
Basically,
I need to call something out real quick. It's okay to not like a plot. The movie has a plot. There's very clearly a plot in this movie. It's explained quite a bit. You don't have to like it, but there's clearly a plot.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, most of these 1-star reviews say the same thing. They're just surprised that Nicolas Cage did such a bad movie.
So sad.
Which, yeah, I think people, like I said, expected one thing from the movie. They expected it to be Five Nights at Freddy's, the video game. It expected it to be a horror movie. And it was kind of, but not really. It's mostly just, a B movie.
I mean, on IMDb, it's a dark comedy, splatter horror, supernatural horror, action, comedy, horror, thriller.
Yeah.
Right. So like comedy's in there twice, and action is in there. Like it's not meant to be Saw or Hostile, you know?
Yeah. So for 10 out of 10s, this is from Behind's Mail. The movie has no intentions on being anything but what it is. Nick Cage fighting robots for an hour and a half, and it's awesome. Agreed. Um,
No notes.
from Dark Lord Mark, Nick Cage is one of the only top list actors who can carry a movie with his pure acting skills. In Willy's Wonderland, Nick Cage doesn't say one word, yet he is the star and carries this fun, over the top action movie full of thrills and amazing premise and similar over the top soundtrack. Nick Cage is the action hero who ends up saving the town and maybe the world from murderous possessed cyber animatronic robots. Yes, I actually wrote that and I'm darn proud of it. This movie is 10 out of 10 for fun, and similarly, the soundtrack and cinematography was just the top notch. Movie is worth a watch and highly recommended. Most fun movie since 2021 and poised to be a cult classic.
Yeah.
Ashley F. Simon says, take a look at what we have here. First of all, it's Nick Cage. That's a big step moving into what's great. Next, we have some wacky town in the middle of nowhere with some crazy showbiz pizza. Do I really need to move forward after that? Take a puff and pour some whiskey because the greatness is about to begin. Whatever you got to do to enjoy it. This is complete trash that is a steaming pile that oozes a role written for Nick Cage. What do you think an 80s style slasher with animatronics and a superpowered Nick Cage would be? Exactly what you think it is. I recommend everyone sees this because it is solid gold. Guaranteed to be a cult classic, must see in the theater.
Yeah.
Nick Cage says no words the whole time in this absolute phenomenal movie. Original, amazing, and funny. Looks like an 80s movie, trash and hilarious. Maybe that's why we liked it, because it felt like an 80s movie.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is like, what if Ashley J. Williams was thrown into a Chuck E. Cheese store and had to fight demonic animatronics? We obviously agree with that. So there you go. Similar stuff. All the 1s out of 10s kind of say the same thing. All the 10s out of 10s kind of say the same thing as well. So yeah, at this point, we generally go ahead and rate the movie on our scale of caginess and on our scale of quality.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love this movie like through and through. I really only have one knock against it. There's a scene that we didn't even talk about really, where one of the guys, it's like a strobe light room, where this guy's like running away from a couple of the animatronics and it's just like strobe lights all the time. I actually found that to be too much for me, which I usually don't have a problem with. That scene aside, I love this movie. I think whatever, everything that we've said so far up to this point, like it is tropey in all the right ways. It executes extremely well. I
It
love the
knows
way
what it is.
it knows what it is. I love the way it's shot. I love the animatronics. They look fantastic. That must have been very hard to build,
Yeah,
and the budget was only $5.5 million, right? A million of which was probably Nick's salary.
probably.
So, I mean, I really love it. It is so hard for me to like put a rank on it. I I want it to be on the higher end. Like it's certainly good. I'm just trying to decide how high to go. And man, it's a tough one, man. I'm thinking like I'm trying not to go too crazy on
Generally,
it.
we try and be objective about this to
Yeah.
like what the average moviegoer would think of this movie. Keep that in mind. I know you have a soft spot for uh, you know, slasher, campy gore type stuff, but don't go too crazy. I
I'm
think I
I'm
know
not
where you're at.
I'm not going too crazy. I think I'm going to give it a 14.
Okay, I'm at a 13, so we're in
Okay.
the same spot. My reasoning was that if I think, I've talked about we have this kind of average rating for Nick Cage movies between 8 and 12. 8, being on the lower end of average and 12 being on the higher end of average. I think this was better than anywhere in the average.
Hmm.
And chances are I would rather watch this movie than anything in that 8 to 12 range that we've watched thus far. Because this movie is one that's easy to watch. It's short.
Hmm.
It's fun. It's you can easily watch this one multiple times and not have a problem. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm at a 13. You're at a 14. I think that puts it right in a good place. We're not overstating how good it is. It's not Pig,
No, no, certainly not. It is
but it
definitely
but it
not.
is for what the genre is really good.
Hmm. Agreed. Yep.
So then generally we do caginess as well. So that's just quality is just one of our scores. Caginess is the other. This movie is extremely cagey from the fact that he does not talk at all. That's super cagey in itself.
Yeah.
Um, but his humping the machine, his dance scene, his fighting with people, stuntmen in rubber suits. You know,
His
everything about
various
this
facial
movie,
expressions, the stares that he does,
wrapping himself in duct tape. I mean, the way he drinks the sodas and moans afterwards, like everything about this is pure Cage.
it's a lot. It
The
is a
only
lot.
thing typically cagey that you don't get in this movie is that all the dialogue is either shouted or whispered.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, and
So,
we didn't touch on this during the review, but there is one fun fact I read from an interview in this movie, and I don't know if you know this. Maybe you read it as well. There was originally in the script one line in this movie.
oh,
He had one line,
okay.
and it was when he was getting ready to fight Willy.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you this, and you're going to have a very strong opinion about it.
All
But
right.
they said that you can't have a movie with an action star. If they only have one line, it's got to be a really good line. They likened it to Ash Williams saying groovy. It has to
Okay.
be an iconic line.
I mean,
But
I agree.
his one line that he says to Willy at the very end of the movie is "Come at me, bro." I'm not joking. That's the actual line that they were gonna have in the movie. But Nick fought against that.
I agree with Nick. I think that changes the tone of the character completely.
Yes, I think that ruins the whole everything they set up before that.
I'm not saying there's no line that would have worked, but that one changes the character too much. I can't. I'm
Yes.
with Nick 100% on that.
Anyway, yeah. So everything in this movie it oozes caginess, right? There's we've done a lot of movies on the spectrum. This one is definitely on the high end of the spectrum. Um, no,
No, it is. It is high. I'm trying to decide how high
I
because
think it's very high. I
I'm
mean,
looking at a few movies and I'm not sure that I can put it above some of these.
well, obviously not more than like Vampire's Kiss.
No, but like, we gave, for example, we gave Mandy a 16 and a half.
Yeah.
We gave Leaving Las Vegas a 15. Same with Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance was a 14 and a half.
Yeah,
I,
but here's the thing. Leaving Las Vegas had cagey moments that were extremely cagey, but the whole movie was not cagey.
true.
This movie, every bit of it that he's in is cagey.
That's true. That's a good point.
I
That's a
mean,
good
Mandy
point.
was cagey pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was gonna put it. I was thinking like 16 to 17, so it would have been right where Mandy is anyway. But this movie is probably at the very least equal to as cagey as Mandy.
Okay, are you giving it a 16 or a 17?
I will give it a 16. I'll be a little conservative with it.
Okay. I will also give it a 16 then. That's what I gave Mandy, and I agree with you that I do think it's on the same level. So I'll go with a 16 as well. I think
I think the
it's
way that Mandy was shot made it seem crazier and like more cagey
yeah, I think that's
than this
fair.
movie a little bit. So I think that works. They're very close.
It does. I do think it works. We gave sympathy for the devil an 18, Deadfall a 19, Matchstick Men a 17. So I think 16 seems fair.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
agreed.
So there you go. So that's a 13 and a half on quality and a 16 on caginess. Certainly a movie I would recommend people watch, just
For
straight up,
sure. Yeah, for
you know.
sure.
So now the girl lives, she does drink a soda at the end of the movie. So I guess she's got powers now too.
If in fact that it does give powers. Never confirmed in the movie.
One final note, man. This is our third year anniversary episode. Did you know
Nice.
that?
I did because you mentioned it in the podcast leading up to this.
Did I? Did I? Okay. I
Yes, yeah, yeah,
forgot.
yeah. I did
Uh,
know. Well, we might not have mentioned it during the podcast, but during our conversations either before or after the podcast, I think you mentioned it.
yeah, man.
Exciting.
It's
But
great.
it's like our 10th year podcasting together. It's just our third year on this podcast. So
Right. Yes. Yeah. We have
shout out
been,
Screen Heroes.
yeah, you and I have been podcasting since the summer of 2014.
So more than 10 years.
Yeah. Going on 11 here.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. We have done a lot of podcast episodes.
we have.
I mean, you and I together have done over 300.
Basically, if they decided to create an AI of either of us, we'd be fucked because they could literally just feed all those podcast episodes in and they'd easily have enough data to convince anybody that is a loved one of ours that we don't exist anymore and that the AI is us.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So you can dream about that. You're welcome.
Happy days. They can put us in an
Yeah, exactly.
animatronic and Nick can fight us.
That's
So,
right.
yeah. No, but this was super fun. Willy's Wonderland, great time. Really
Yes, I've
enjoyed
been
it.
looking forward to this, to discussing this with you because I had seen it and told you that I think you'd really like it.
Hmm.
And so yes, I am not disappointed in your reaction. I'm glad that you liked it. I always like when I recommend you a movie and you do end up enjoying it. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm glad. I wish your wonderful wife had watched it with you so that I could have gotten her opinion, but I'm hopeful that that comes in the not too far future.
I'm gonna get her to watch it. I don't know if we'll do it for Love and Slashers, but I will definitely have her watch it because this was just too fun.
Sounds good to me.
All right, man. Anything else for Willy's Wonderland? I mean, I guess. Well, we didn't talk about the song.
I was doing the bit. Anything else for Willy's Wonderland, and I just wasn't going to say
You just was
anything.
gonna
You just
stare.
ruined it.
I'm sorry. You got to put sunglasses on. I thought you
I
froze for a
know.
second,
Yeah,
maybe.
I guess
Uh,
that's what really did it.
we did,
Anyway, listeners, you should know I was trying to do the bit.
but we didn't talk about the theme song.
We don't need to talk about the theme
But it's
song. I know you're a
great.
soundtrack guy. Several of the reviews mention the soundtrack. Are you going to buy it on vinyl?
I might. It's only 25 bucks.
Okay, now we've talked about it.
Okay. It's a great, the title track is great. It just is. The Willy's Wonderland title track. It's fan
For sure.
it's a banger, man. All right. We're the Coming of Cage podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Go to comingofcage.com for all of our links. You can watch us on the Derrico Studios YouTube channel. I'm Derek. That is Ryan. Come at me, bro.
Nice.